Hey guys, I hope everybody's had a good week. Today I am replaying The Godmother of Cocaine. And I'm doing this just because it's Mother's Day weekend and I don't know, mother. I mean, she was a mom and you'll hear about it in the episode. But it's been a crazy week and I'm actually going out of town to see my mom. So happy Mother's Day to all of you who are moms, stepmoms, fur baby moms, a mom to somebody as a mentor, to people who want to be moms, will be moms, and just everybody. I hope it's a great weekend. I hope everybody has a great week. I hope you enjoy this episode. Don't forget to check out my previous episodes. I am coming up on 3 years, so there are a lot of episodes to check out on that Florida feeling. Hello to all of my new listeners. I appreciate each and every one of you. Also, don't forget to check out all of my friends at Unfiltered Studios. Some amazing people over there and some other awesome podcasts if you're looking to add to your podcast library. I hope you guys have a great week. I'll be back next week with new content. Don't forget to be nice to one another, guys. And here is the Godmother of Cocaine. Hey guys, welcome to That Florida Feeling. How is everybody this week? Thank you to everybody who interacted with the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok pages. I am blown away by your songs. I don't know what I was expecting, but I got a lot of responses from that, so thank you. And I also found some songs that I had never heard before, so that was kind of cool. You guys are awesome, and I love that everybody has different taste, and it wasn't the same song like 10 times. So thank you for that. Sorry it was a day late. My bad. I also love the fact that out of the big cities in Florida, Tampa won. I mean, that's my heart, but I didn't expect it to win. I, for some reason, thought Miami would get more votes, or Orlando because of the theme parks, but I'm cool with Tampa. Trust me. So, I know that some days are harder than others, and I just want everybody out there to know that I am thankful for you. I am thankful for you so much. You guys mean so much to me. I can't believe that I have over 6,000 plays on this podcast so far. And I just want to say I appreciate each and every one of you. However, I do not appreciate the Florida management system sending out an alert at 4:45 in the morning. I do not. That was my day to sleep in. Did I sleep in? No. Did I get a podcast written? Yes, but that is not the point. But I want you guys to know that I really appreciate and love each and every one of you. And I love interacting with you guys. And I thank you for taking time out of your week to listen to me and to interact and to talk to one another. And the memes on Facebook are just fantastic. And so thank you so much. I just want to say that I love each and every one of you and I'm thankful for you. So today I'm going to talk about an interesting figure in Florida's history. However, possibly not a well-known one. Griselda Blanco. Does that name ring a bell? Maybe not. What if I call her the Godmother of Cocaine? Or the Black Widow? Might ring a bell? Once I'm done talking about her, you'll definitely realize, oh my God, I do know who that is. And Griselda was a very interesting figure that came over to Florida from Colombia and left a pretty good path of destruction all over Miami while she was here. Griselda Blanco Restrepo was born possibly in Cartagena, Colombia. There's not a really definitive where she was born. They think she was born on February 15th, 1943. Again, they're not really sure. We do know that she was baptized in Santa Marta, Colombia. We know she was poor. She had a very poor upbringing, filled with crime and poverty. So it really didn't take long for her to just fit into that criminal element. They're not really sure what age, but most people think it was 11 when she turned to the criminal side or the dark side. And that was after she and her mother moved to Medellin when she was 3. So from the time she was 3 to 11, she had seen all this crime and poverty going on, and she just decided to join it and make something of herself. So at 11, she became a criminal when she helped kidnap a boy and hold him for ransom. She helped hold him until his family refused to pay. And some accounts say that she fatally shot him. Some say she stood by while he was shot. We'll never know. But we do know that was her first encounter in being a criminal. She also began to engage in prostitution and pickpocketing. just to get to earn some money and earn herself a name. Now, she did marry young as a teenager to a small-time criminal and started a family. But, of course, those happy times didn't last. The couple divorced, and it was believed that she eventually ordered him murdered many, many years later. So, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and she might have proved that. But, of course, she wasn't one to stay single for long or stay in one place for long, so she started a relationship with Alberto Bravo. Alberto was a little bit better than a small-time criminal. He was a drug trafficker, and he was actually the one who introduced her to cocaine. So we have him to thank for her run through Miami. Now, of course, they're in Colombia, and they had connections to the U.S., and they wanted to earn more money and make it big time, so they began to bring their product into the States, starting with New York. And they actually had a base of operations there. Like, they got into New York, and they just started selling. Blanco became creative on how she was going to smuggle the drugs in. She knew that doing the same thing every time they'd eventually get caught, so she had to become very creative. She went as far as to have special lingerie made with secret compartments just to smuggle drugs in. I'm sorry, but that's genius. This is the days before the x-ray machines and the body scanners, and so if it didn't have a metal beep, then actually this is days before airport security. Yeah. So, yeah, she just walked right on with it. Of course, she became highly successful. She actually immigrated to the U.S. with fake documents and began living full-time in Queens. And she made her operation in Queens, and she ruled it. She would smuggle drugs in on people, on boats, on airplanes, whatever she could. And she helped establish a large, very large cocaine business. But, of course, everything must come to an end. She eventually got caught in 1975. She was indicted on federal charges with about 30 workers and her husband. Of course, she and her husband, being the big-time people, fled the country with money when the charges were brought against her and went right back to Colombia. Now, of course, she knew she didn't want to give up on the U.S. because she knew that she could still make a profit. It was all about the money. So, Colombia was actually sending a ship to New York called the Gloria for a bicentennial race in New York Harbor. She paid people to smuggle drugs onto this boat, have it delivered in New York to her people, and continue to make a profit, even if she was in Colombia. You talk about a businesswoman. That is amazing. Now, of course, they were in Colombia only a short time before she and her second husband decided that things weren't going smoothly. An argument happened between her husband where she accused him of stealing money. The argument led to a shootout, and she killed him. I guess you could say it was self-defense. I guess you could say it was hatred. Anyway, she shot him in the face with a concealed gun, but he shot her in the torso. Either way, though, she was alive and now in control of her entire empire. She was also beginning to live up to her nickname of the Black Widow. Of course, she's not going to stay single for long. She's not going to stay in one place for long. She's still got money to make and cocaine to sell. So what does she do? She marries husband number 3, Dario Sepulveda. He was a bank robber, again in the criminal element, and of course they had more children. She completely embraced that mob mentality, the drug lord crime boss persona. She was all in on it, so she named her third son Michael Corleone. Yes, that Michael Corleone. She really embraced it, and she wasn't going to give up on it. She was going to be that crime boss. And she eventually moved back to the U.S. in the late 70s, but instead of New York, she headed to sunnier skies. She headed straight to Miami. She was actually an early pioneer of the Miami-based cocaine movement. She was really that pioneer that almost started that entire trade. And she came back to Miami at the same time that violent public conflict started that involved hundreds of murders, killings, riots, crime, you name it. Miami was just bad. Miami was having a high crime epidemic in the beginning of the 1980s. And of course, the influx of cocaine didn't help, but it also gave her an excuse to hide. She was able to hide really well. She just slipped into Miami and started doing her thing. And she came to Miami to establish herself again. And this is when she got the nickname, the Godmother of Cocaine. She was going to rule Miami, and she did. Blanco was not opposed to using violence. She used violence, deception, and some really, really good business practices to become one of the wealthiest drug traffickers in Miami. She also left Miami in shambles through her conquest to become that godmother of cocaine. They're not really sure, but they believe that she might have been responsible for anywhere from 200 to 2,000 murders during the cocaine wars. And of course, Miami in the 1980s was dealing with riots, drug use, racism, regular crime. So it wasn't like there's not a specific number, but it made her easier to do her thing. And she did her thing. She was super in charge of Miami. Like, not really many people wanted to mess with this woman. She did have competition. She did. But they didn't last long. She would take out competition and someone would try to take their place. And she would take them out again. And this became what is known as the Cocaine Wars. And the Cocaine Wars lasted from 1979 to 1984 in South Florida, in the heart of Miami. Now, the Medellin cartel was one such rival that began flying boatloads into Miami. And she didn't like this. She wanted to eliminate competition, and she displayed ruthlessness that helped plunge the city into what would be known as those cowboy cocaine wars for those 5 years. She is said to have ordered numerous murders and was even said to have invented the idea of having gunmen on motorcycles to be the one to commit these murders. She pioneered it in Colombia and brought it over to Miami. She also wanted the killings to take place in broad daylight. She showed no fear. One such shootout included an incident at a local mall in 1979. Now, the incident that really kicked off the cocaine wars was on 7/11/1979, so July 11th, 1979, when several of Blanco's hitmen killed a rival drug dealer at the Crown Liquor Store and the Dayland Shopping Mall. Now, the hitman arrived in an armored van that had Happy Time Complete Party Supply on the side, so nobody knew they were coming. I mean, she had even thought to disguise the van. The hitman then proceeded to chase the liquor store employees through the mall with guns drawn. The employees luckily escaped. They did kill the guy they were going to, but the employees were only wounded in the chase. But the mall incident completely changed the game. It changed the way every technique was done. It changed the way people went about things. No one was safe at any time. And then she decided to go back to those techniques we talked about where she used in Medellin with the motorcycle gunman. And when she did that, the body count just started rolling. Cocaine and marijuana were flooding into Miami thanks to her and other deals as they tried to control the flow and the streets, and she was doing a good job of it. Miami quickly became the murder capital of the world. And it became a commonplace for Colombians and Cuban dealers to kill each other with submachine guns and without a second thought. Everybody kind of took on her ruthlessness to get where they wanted to be or to try to get ahead. Now, Blanco had a reputation that preceded her whenever she went. She was often said to be worse than any of the men in the drug trade. She was almost feared. Now, it's not clear if she worked with Pablo Escobar or if he was her rival. I can actually kind of see if she was from Medellin, that she was around when he started and then it going south and him wanting to take her out. I think that's what I think. But it's not clear. I mean, we'll never know. We can't ask them. I mean, she was so ruthless, she struck fear into other drug lords and countless people. Actually, most of the citizens of Miami were probably scared of this woman and her hitmen. They often said she would kill first and then see if the person was even related to the drug trade. She didn't care. You got in her way, you were dead. Yeah, she was said if you got in her way, you weren't going to be there long. I mean, this woman had no fear, showed no fear, and is just ruthless, like cold-hearted. But she did trust some people. She had her men, and she did have a trusted hitman. Jorge Rivi, I cannot say the last name. Ayala? Let's go with Ayala. He was loyal to her. And it was even said one time that if she ordered a hit, that meant everyone around the person was a target as well. So if you were at a party and one person was going to get killed, everybody was getting killed. She did not care who was there, women, children, innocent bystanders. You were all meant to go. You got in her way. You had to go. And she wasn't just ruthless in hits. She was ruthless in everything. She would kill someone and their whole entire family if they didn't pay on time. She would have someone killed if they slighted her, if they wronged her, or if she just got tired of dealing with them. Any contact with this woman probably ended in death for most people. Ayala would do anything for Blanco, but he drew the line at children. He did not want to kill kids, and I think that's actually respectable, even if he is a hitman. He even stopped other members that were working for her from killing kids, but in the end, he did end up killing one of her youngest victims. Ayala had been sent to take out another one of Blanco's hitman. So apparently this hitman had gotten on her wrong side, and he was meant to go. He chose to shoot up the man's car, did not realize that the man's 2-year-old son was in the car, and the son did not make it. So like I said, no one was safe from this woman, not even family. She eventually took the name Black Widow again. Sepulveda, her third husband, was now in her sights. He had taken their son Michael and returned to Colombia with him. Well, that didn't sit well with her. She was pissed. So what did she do? She had her hitman in Colombia dress up as policeman and gun her husband down while Michael watched. Can you imagine what that did to a kid? Can you imagine the lack of trust now in cops thinking that everyone is just going to come out and kill you? That is absolutely horrible. I mean, she is... okay, yeah. I read that when I was researching this, and I was like, she just traumatized her own child just to get back at her husband. That is not okay. But of course, the issue with killing her husband meant that she had just started a war with his family. Sepulveda's brother Paco was connected and wanted Blanco out of the picture. And basically, this just started another war. So now she's fighting the cocaine wars. Now she's fighting her ex-husband's family war. But what really happened is when she killed her ex-husband, she lost supporters. And she lost a supplier because the supplier was connected to his family. And once he was killed, his family did not want them dealing with her. So, I mean, she did it to herself, I guess. But of course, Blanco had much bigger things. They believe that she smuggled more than 3 tons of cocaine annually. Yearly 3 tons of cocaine into the U.S. And she netted around $80 million per month in sales. Okay, seriously, what do you do with all that money? Like, you can't buy enough just to go through that. But she loved the lavish lifestyle. She used the money to embrace her criminal persona and lifestyle. She wanted lavish homes, threw wild parties, had a private jet, and took Miami for every bit that it was worth. The parties she threw actually became meeting places for major players in the drug world. So her parties were the place to be, especially if you wanted to get your name or your drugs out into Miami. She had a large mansion on Miami Beach. She would frequently purchase jewelry, especially diamonds from ladies, well-known ladies, even Argentina's first lady, Eva Perón. She also smoked a large amount of unrefined cocaine called bazooka. So not only is she enjoying her lavish lifestyle, now she's sampling her own product. This caused her to be somewhat erratic and paranoid, and so she was known for doing strange things. At the height of her power, this was in the 1980s, she oversaw a $1 billion organization, but she had made many enemies along the way. People were starting to get tired of her. Nobody wanted to deal with her. She was impossible to deal with. So she became the target of many attempts. One even coming from her second husband's brother, who actually roamed her favorite shopping mall just waiting for a chance to kill her. So she might have had $1 million organization, but she had made a lot of enemies, stepping on a lot of people to get there. But of course, she continued to control her empire and took people out left and right. No one was going to get in her way. She even took out Marta Ochata, a drug supplier, because she didn't want to pay the $1.8 million to them. So she just killed him. She killed her own supplier. Horchata's body was found dead in a canal in 1984. And Horchata's family had every right to want Blanco taken out, but instead they just wanted the killings to stop. They just wanted everything to stop. The plea from Horchata's family was actually a bit surprising, since they were some of the same ones who helped found the Medellin cartel with Pablo Escobar. So these people are connected to Pablo Escobar, and they've seen what he's doing, and they've seen what she's doing, and they just wanted it to stop. I can't imagine thinking that this woman is worse than Pablo Escobar. But I guess compared to what Pablo did in Medellin, where he, gave to the people, and she's just trashing Miami, I could see why they thought that she was the worst. Of course, doing all these drug deals and making all these enemies, she's going to get on some radars. She's especially on the DEA's radar, and she'd been on there for pretty much the whole time she'd been in Miami. I mean, they knew her from New York, and now she's in Miami causing havoc. And of course, she knew many people were after her, so She decided to leave Florida and head to California to try and avoid the DEA and the rest of them out for her. But she didn't escape for long. She only made it about a year. They finally arrested her in 1985, and she was only 42. Now, Blanco did not escape conviction. She was sentenced for 20 years of narcotic trafficking. But that wasn't the end of her or her business. She was still wanted for many, many, many murders in Miami. And she might have been in prison, but she still had connections. She even found a lover named Charles Cosby, who was absolutely enthralled with her as the godmother of cocaine. He was in love with this woman. He was in love with her persona. He wanted to be the crime boss's man. He wanted that lifestyle. And they actually met while she was in federal prison. And this also led to prison staff being paid off. And they believe that she might have actually trusted Cosby with what was left of her drug empire. And this actually helped continue to run her empire. I mean, she was still dealing it. She was still running things. But life began to catch up with her. Oswald, her son, was shot by Pablo Escobar's men in 1992 and left to die. But that wasn't the worst moment for her. The worst moment for her came when her trusted hitman Ayala became a star witness in the murder prosecution against her. The one man she had trusted, the one man that knew all of her secrets, was now going to turn on her. And an turn of events in life led Blanco to having a nervous breakdown because Ayala knew enough. He knew everything. He knew how to get her convicted, sentenced to death. And it wasn't just once, it was many times over. So she had a complete nervous breakdown. And I think that's probably a reason to have one. And the only thing that saved her from being prosecuted was that Ayala had a phone sex scandal with someone from the Miami-Dade District Attorney's Office, which absolutely discredited him as the star witness. So she had again avoided the death penalty. She was offered a plea deal. She took it. And in 2004, she was released to go back to Colombia. Do not set foot in the U.S. again. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Do not ever come back. And when she went back to Colombia, what do you think happened? You think she was welcomed with open arms? Absolutely not. She had made too many enemies there. No one wanted her back. No one welcomed her back. And eventually, her life caught up with her. She was 69 years old when she was shot twice in the head outside a butcher shop in Medellin. She was assassinated by a drive-by shooting, which she had pioneered many years ago. It's very fitting that she got taken out by her own tricks. And they actually don't know who is responsible for the shooting, but with all the enemies she had, it didn't really matter. Someone had finally taken the shot. But of course, she left a lingering impression on Miami with the cocaine wars, the parties, and the bodies she left in her wake. She was a smart businesswoman, and she pioneered an entire $1 million drug empire by herself. And she did it. But she did it with a lot of cost. I mean, she was a ruthless, mean woman. And she hurt a lot of people. Miami eventually did move on from the cocaine wars, but there are things that legends and ghost stories now come out of. So if you roam South Beach and hear, as they did in the 1980s, it's kind of hard to imagine it as a war zone at one point with the white sandy beaches and the people everywhere and the towering hotels. I kind of wonder what she would think of Miami now. I mean, back in the 80s, it was Miami Vice, and it was, you think of all those fun things, and you think of the bright colors and the neon and the big hair and people wanting to just be seen and heard. And now it's just wild parties everywhere and fancy cars and expensive and massive towers and celebrities. And I wonder if she'd have been welcomed in those groups, or if she would have thought that everybody was in her way again. Well, thank you for listening this week, guys. No Florida man, because we just talked about one hell of a Florida woman. I really appreciate you guys listening. Don't forget to check out the polls and the questions on Wednesday or Thursday as life dictates. Don't give up on me. Don't forget to check out the social media pages. I love that you guys interact, especially on the TikTok and the Facebook, Instagram. I love talking to you guys, our chats in the mornings and the memes we send each other. And if you have a second, if you could give a review if you haven't, I really would appreciate it. I hope that everyone is surviving the influx of people that has started on spring break and probably went until the end of summer. So I hope everybody stays cool, drinks plenty of water, wears your sunscreen, and as always, guys, that's your daily dose of sunshine.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.